move on to the second question, which is on cultural competency. Mr. Latimer, you'll be the first one to answer the question. In the city schools assessment and accountability report for October 2011, the school profile for the entire division indicated that at least 56% of the students in Charlottesville are African American, Hispanic, Asian, or American Indian. The 2011 staffing report from Human Resources lists the teaching staff at 83% white and 13% black. Staff in schools that are culturally competent communicate, engage, and teach children of families from a wide range of cultural differences with effective results. What do you see as the successes and challenges of the Charlottesville City Schools when it comes to having a culturally competent staff and curriculum? Should the school board expect an employee to be culturally competent?
Thank you, and that's a great question. I'm happy to support access and equity in education, and I'm well aware that the teaching force, not only in this area, but also across America, is about 80% female and 80% white, but America is not all white women. My field of librarianship is similar. It's largely women and it's largely white people. And I have to say that growing up, I was fortunate to be mentored by many great teachers. And I've seen great teachers who are all races, genders, handicaps, and so on. And whenever I see a great teacher, I think of them as someone who's a great teacher because they're able to build a good relationship with their students. I don't see teachers as a collection of white people or a collection of female or black people. I just see them as good individuals and good teachers. And I've seen many examples of white teachers who are able to reach across the race boundaries, so to speak, and reach out to a wide variety of students. So I think that over time, the teaching force will become more diverse on its own. Because 50 years ago, the teaching force in America in the K-12 teaching world was 100% white, 100% women, and we are happily marching toward greater diversity and equity.
Thank you. Ms. Laufer?
Thank you. I think there is progress. You can look at our current school board, our current administration. It's diverse. The other successes I see are the kindness that teachers exhibit every day to students. The teachers I know are well aware of children's lives. They hear it from the children themselves. We'd be shocked at how much they know about us. And they're keen to be a positive influence in children's lives. I think teachers want all children to succeed or they wouldn't be teaching. And we should absolutely expect employees to be culturally competent. The more interesting question is how we can use their competencies to affect positive outcomes for children. This is why relationships between children, families, teachers, and school systems are so crucial. I believe that we need to create a community within our schools by playgroups with the younger children. This way they can get to know each other. I think that builds cultural competencies within the students. And with older children, by using a true advisory period where children talk about their feelings not only about home and school, but other things, and this in a place where they feel comfortable. I think this is a way to encourage cultural awarenesses on all levels. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kadija?
Yes, absolutely. I think that our teachers should be advised on cultural competency. I think, in fact, administration should as well. And I think that really everybody at a minimum should be required to read Framework for Understanding Poverty by Ruby Payne. I personally found out as much about myself as a middle-class white woman and mother as I did about my neighbors at Friendship Court from reading that book. I think our focus on testing and technology has eaten up a lot of time that could perhaps be spent, some of which at least could perhaps be spent engaging teachers to get to know the communities in which they're teaching and building stronger parent-teacher relationships, as has been mentioned. I think that really nothing can replace understanding and seeing where children are being brought up and in what conditions and in what environments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Blount?
Thank you. I wholeheartedly agree with the need for our staff to be culturally competent. We are raising our children to participate in a global arena that is beyond the boundaries of just what Charlottesville City provides. And along those lines, our strategic plan is in support of realizing this goal, and I've, as Guian as well, helped to get one of the objectives in our strategic plan, which is to have all of our staff and faculty trained, along with some support with the dialogue on race, through that to have our staff trained on cultural competencies and to have that be in a timeline where all of our division is trained almost on those lines, and that is objective 3.1.4 in our current strategic plan. Programs like our elementary Spanish are a good way for starting for our young children to develop and to have that understanding of global awareness as well. And proud to say that we are in our 4th year with that with our 4th graders. And we have things going on at our high school with our high school students. Charlene Green mentioned earlier, we have high school groups that are beginning the dialogue, engaging beyond the boundaries of the school as well with the university, and being trained to how to handle different situations where they can learn to advocate for themselves. And I think that's an important consideration also for our students, to be able to demand those cultural competencies among the staff that they will be in contact with. And we have a division that is very open to having our students demand this of the teachers and the other personnel that they will come in contact with. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Neale?
I do think it's a benefit to everyone when we have a diverse staff. That's one of the reasons families like mine move into the city, and others send students from out of district. And I agree that we want a staff that largely mirrors the students it serves. But I think more important than statistics is the environment at our schools. We ought to ask first how our students and employees perform and feel. If our kids come to school welcomed and nurtured by the teachers and other staff, they'll be ready to learn and do their best regardless of race. And if our best teachers feel appreciated and want to stay in and advance through our system, and are convinced that they can do so regardless of race, then that's another measure of our success. But data is important, and we certainly can't just evaluate something this complex subjectively. So let me just address the statistics cited. So teachers, 83% white, and 17% non-white. But I also want to point out that we have in the classroom instructional assistants, where it's 65% white and 35% non-white. So children are seeing at least a bit more of a diverse classroom than the teacher statistics might suggest. I mentioned also that when we interviewed for the new HR director, we were certainly asking how he or she would work to hire more minority teachers. It was just one of the key questions. And I do believe that everyone at central office is working to help diversify our workforce, and those efforts I do know are reported to the board regularly. I believe it was just reported at the meeting before last. So I certainly believe that we all need to be culturally competent, and that we have to just continue to work on this.
Thank you. Ms. McKeever?
I agree that being culturally competent is incredibly important, especially as the achievement gap persists. While the numbers continue to narrow, the missing piece, who knows what that is, but I suspect it could be the cultural competence of the teachers and staff. While I absolutely understand and respect that the teachers are doing their best to be in relationship with their students and their families. They do, a lot of them go door to door to their students' houses every year, and it's quite amazing. So I would like to see a professional development either annually, certainly within the first year of your teaching, where a teacher does, and staff members do attend these cultural competency classes. Now, I have to say that there has certainly been some successes. For example, my oldest child has had 3 absolutely different teachers each year that he's been in school. And it's been phenomenal. It's great that he's been able to have that. But attracting and retaining diverse set of teachers is incredibly important, but very difficult to do. So I hope, as a school board member, to have to affect policies that actually promote keeping teachers here in our city of all backgrounds. And I think it's going to be. I think the challenge is just making the profession of teaching itself a positive one for and instead of kind of having a lot of numbers-driven results for them.
Thank you. Mr. McKee.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we've seen, there's no question, this is one of the most critical issues we face. Having a welcoming school environment, a classroom environment is a basic condition for building engagement. That's the precondition for success. You know, I think we've made progress in this area. Perhaps the biggest success is that the message, I think, has been clearly conveyed, you know, across our administration, across our staff, that this is important and critical. There's a strong effort in place to improve minority recruitment, but quite frankly, it's difficult. There are not enough candidates there in the market, and it can be tough to attract them to a small town like Charlottesville. So we have to keep working on that because the challenge, you know, is real. And there's also I think the deeper challenge that even well-meaning people can sometimes stumble in this area. You know, it's tricky and complex, and we do need to provide the support for our teachers to learn how to anticipate some of those potential pitfalls they can step into without needing to. So I think, you know, the kind of diversity training that I talked about, I think the student responsiveness model and student empowerment is vitally important. We have to be careful that, you know, those models are really working for us, that they really are viable and effective models, rather than something that people are simply required to show up for once a year. It has to be something meaningful to them. There's another area that I'd like to see us explore, and that comes out of behavioral psychology. There's a lot of new research right now that shows that simply the way we frame situations and issues has a significant effect on student performance. That if we set up an environment where success is expected, where the teacher conveys belief in the student rather than a sense of you have these burdens, you have these challenges, you see remarkable gains in student performance. I think we need to explore the cutting edge work that's out there in this area and see how we approach the classroom environment as a result.
Thank you.